everybody, this is Pretty from It's a Pretty World. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm so excited to show you the new ink release from Rubbernecker, and they have come up with 4 different shades of colors. One is green, yellow, pink and blue, and they are cube ink pads, and they are paired together in shades of greens and blues and yellows. And I'm also going to use this new stamp set called Blossoms in Spring, which is also a new release, and it's a layering stamp set, and it works beautifully with these ink pads. And this there's another stamp set called Kittie Says Phrases, and it has some beautiful phrases which also I'm going to use for this particular card. I'm going to do the stamping on both white cardstock and kraft cardstock to show you how these colors look on both of them. I'm starting off with the white cardstock and the first solid layer of the flower that I'm going to stamp, and I've chosen 3 different shades of yellow from the yellow palette. The first ink that I've chosen is called Custard, and I'm going to stamp this in the corner of this white cardstock a couple of times. It does look a little splotchy, but eventually when it dries out, the ink does spread beautifully and it does smooth out. And I stamped that flower twice on either corner of the white cardstock, and I'm stamping the outline image with the darkest ink in the palette, and that's called Amaretto. And I'm going to stamp that too multiple times on both the flowers. Once I'm done stamping those two, I'm going to line the detail image. And now lining these stamps are pretty easy as well. They're not too complicated, and in the package there is a guide as to how to line these stamps, but I'm telling you, trust me, it's not difficult at all. It's very easy. So I'm starting to stamp the detail image using autumn ink, which is the mid color. I'm going to stamp that multiple times too, and look at that, the flower just starts comes to life just after that. And I'm going to add the center of the flower with just a black ink. I want these flowers to look like sunflowers, and they're just beautiful. And I'm going to stamp the leaves, and for the leaves I'm just using 2 different shades of green. The first one is called Fern, and the vein that I'm going to use inside it is called Juniper. There are only 2 layers for the leaves anyways, so I'm just going to stamp the leaves, a few leaves around the flowers, and that's pretty much it. The panel, and that's all the stamping that I'm going to do. I'm going to heat set it just because for the next step I didn't want any wet ink anywhere, though these do dry pretty fast, but just wanted to heat set it anyways. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment. The sentiment is from the same stamp set, Blossom in Spring stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that with black ink. And this additional sentiment, which I said was from Kittie Says Phrases, Phrases 1, edition 1. And I'm going to stamp "Thank you so much" at the bottom of that large sentiment using the custard yellow ink, and I'm going to stamp it multiple times so that it gets a little visible, because it is a yellow ink, and I just wanted to make sure it pops out of it. And after I was done stamping that, it was time to adhere this panel onto the side folding kraft note card. Once I was done that, I took like stickles, like glittery glue stickles, and I added that to the center of both the flowers just for a little bit of sparkle, and I let it dry. And then I added a few gemstones. I scattered a few gemstones all around the floral images that I had stamped, and that pretty much completed this card. And here's a closer look for that card. For my second card, I started off with kraft. Now remember, kraft cardstock already has color at the bottom, so sometimes some colors do not stamp in the right hue when you're stamping on a kraft cardstock. So what I did is I took that solid image and I stamped that image using a white pigment ink. So any white pigment ink that you would have in your stock would work beautifully. And I stamped it a couple of times so that I get a good white base for me to stamp the yellow ink over it. So I just stamped this multiple times too. You'll see that eventually. And then I took this yellow, same custard ink, and I stamped it on that, and now you can see the yellow is so much more visible. If I were to stamp this yellow directly onto the kraft, it wouldn't be as visible as this, because the kraft has a little bit of the yellow tone in it, so it would really, sometimes it would almost look like one shade darker than the kraft. It wouldn't look yellow, and that was a reason why I stamped it first with a pigment ink. And then I did the same thing. I added the layers one after the other. The outline layer I added using amaretto. And then I also added the detail layer using using autumn. Now you'll also see that as I go ahead, you'll see that I'll stamp the green directly onto the cardstock. You'll see in a minute. But before that, I took the detail layer and I stamped it again with Versamark ink. And then I added a little bit of Perfect Pearl onto that image, and that just added so much shine to those sunflowers. It looks really beautiful. You can see how beautifully it shines in real life. And then when I was done with it, it was stamped. I was ready to add the inside of the flowers, and for that I used the same black ink. The ink that I used is VersaFine Onyx black ink. I really wanted it to be nice and solid and black. When I was done with it, it was time to lay the leaves. Now you can see the leaves, I'm not going to do the white ink. I'm going to directly stamp it using my ink pad, and it stamps beautifully. And that's because the brown or the kraft, the brown in the kraft actually made that bright green look almost olivey, and I loved it because with the way the sunflower was, I did not want the flowers to be bright. I mean the leaves to be bright. I wanted the leaves to be muted, and with that shade of sunflowers, a muted olive green looked beautiful. And you can see how beautiful that stamped on the kraft cardstock as well. And these inks are really vibrant as well. Once I was done with that, I chose the sentiment which said, I think it said thinking of you, and I stamped that using black ink, and that's all I did to this panel. I just kept the sentiment very simple because I wanted the flowers to be the focus of this panel. Then I took this X-stitched rectangle die and I cut that into a smaller frame, which I will eventually adhere to a top folding white note card. I took a white gel pen and added a few dots just because I wanted to tie the white base of the note card to the card itself. So adding a little bit of white to this panel actually makes the card very cohesive. If there was no white, I think it wouldn't look, the panel wouldn't look very good on a white note card. And now because I added those white notes, it definitely ties in together beautifully. And that completed both the cards. Here's a look at both the cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.